People, deluded, I'm back again. Good afternoon. I hope you're all doing well and safe. I say good afternoon because it's 12 p.m. over here in the UK. Wherever you are, I'd like to just extend my greetings to you guys. I know I've got a lot of subscribers and people that listen to me all over the world, and it warms my heart. Please make sure you're hitting the like button. And like I said, I hope you're all doing well and safe. I hope you're all in good spirits. I hope you're all pushing and moving towards whatever goals, aspirations, dreams you all have in whatever life you live and however old you are, and whatnot. So big up everybody locked in. It means a lot. Please make sure you're hitting the subscribe button as well as the like button. Obviously, there's information on my next live streams as well. We've started at 12 p.m. today. I'll be back again at 2 p.m. today because we need to get Arsenal versus Rapid Vienna out of the way. And then obviously tomorrow from 7 p.m. UK time, I'll be doing the Arsenal versus Rapid Vienna watch along. I really hope Balogun plays. I really hope Smith Rowe gets a start. I'm cautious to see what formation and what personnel he'll go with. If he will give Lacazette and or Eddie Nketiah both starts or minutes for that. But that's all for 2 p.m. So please make sure you open up another tab, you hit the like button on the stream to come. You've also hit your reminders because there's content central. I've also got some videos to come out as well that are not live and whatnot, but I have to do the title and the rest of them. It's been a busy day. Like Yohan said, and thank you very much for being a member. Check out the YouTube memberships as well. Like Yohan said, smash the like button. It doesn't cost a thing. Big up B Campbell in the live chat as well. He's always there. Big up yourself, Delian, as well. I know you're a United fan, but you're always in my live chats, which means, when the banter is all said and done, you're here for intellectual conversation, and it means a lot that you're part of this thing. Another member, big up M, he's always in the building, holding it down for the Northwest man, them there as well. You've got Omar tuned in from Kenya as well. Fantastic work rate, man. Every video I see you comment, every live stream you're there. I really appreciate you all, man. I appreciate everyone else. We've got Zanji in the building. Let's go, Deluded. Can't secure a PS5 yet, but at least your content helps the day go faster. It means a lot, my guy. It means a lot. It means a lot. If it's of any consolation, I haven't secured a PS5 either. So if anyone wants to bless Deluded with one, let's talk. Hit up the DMs or something. But big up everybody locked in. Like I said, I hope you're all well and safe. Shout out to all the Connecticut Gooners as well, like WSA Williams has said as well. Big up yourselves as well. Good morning, Greeny Man TV. I'd assume you're out there in the US as well, or a similar sort of region. It could be in the Caribbean. Wherever you are, big up yourself. But I hope you're all doing well and safe. Now, I'd say Arsenal fans, are we in better spirits? Are we doing better? It depends who you ask. I'd say I am, Not that I want to really forget for a second what happened last weekend against Wolves. Not that I can afford to forget, but it's been and gone. We've accepted it. I don't want to keep harping on about the same moments. We've got the North London derby to come. Apologies, Greeny Man. You're out there in Nottingham. To be fair, it's not morning anymore. You had me there, man, but big up yourselves. But like I said, people, we can't afford to feel sorry for ourselves based on last games and rest on last games laurels and whatnot. We need to move forward. We can't afford to stand still, because again, the world doesn't care that Arsenal are not in good form and that we're struggling, because it can only get worse. So first and foremost, everyone connected to this club, fans, Arteta, players, we have to stop feeling sorry for ourselves and try and move forward. Can we move forward? Who knows? I'd say the Europa League is a welcome break, because we're not that I want foot taken off the gas by any means, people, but as you lot know, we're ready through. The key thing for that game is, listen, let's not get any injuries. I'm going to speak about it at 2 p.m, but Rapid Vienna have plenty of reasons to come here and turn up against us. But yeah, man, hopefully we just get through that. We score some goals. Pepe does what he needs to do, and then we can focus on the Spurs game, which I want to say a must win for obvious reasons. It's Spurs and the rest of it. But will these players play like it's a must win? Who knows, man? Who knows, Antonio? Who knows? Big up everybody in Australia as well. Good evening, mate. Good morning out there in Chicago, in the Windy City, man. Appreciate everybody tuned in. Appreciate all 57 of you. Please hit the like button. Saguna said, thoughts on the 4-4-2 against Spurs. It's a possibility, give me the week to go past and then I'll see. But, it's a possibility, especially because, well, Partey's not there, so it's a big dent, but it's a possibility. It's a possibility. But moving forward, people, now, I'm not too sure of actually, how do I make this make sense? The context of when Arteta said this and whatnot, but El Spanish Gooner on Twitter, apparently, I've looked at the interview and whatnot. Arteta's deemed to have given an interview in Spanish to somebody, I believe that works for DAZN. I tried to log in, you can't log in. There's language problems, but you know, El Spanish Gooner, follow me on Twitter and whatnot. I like to give people credit. Has more or less, you know, drawn up all of the interview that Arteta said, and I think it was interesting. Before I forget, for me, the thing that was most chilling for me and was a signal of potential intent was Arteta said, we want to play a 4-3-3, which is what I feel we can master the most, and I know best how to convey. But for that, you need a lot of speciality in each position, and we need another 5 or 6 new players to do that. So what does that tell you? It already tells you what we already know. While I personally back Arteta and I have more faith in Arteta than the players, I have to hold Arteta responsible to a slight degree as to how he's playing this season, because he hasn't helped himself tactically. Like with defense, you could see what we wanted in a defensive aspect, and you could see, you know, if you have Tierney fit, if you get a Gabriel and people of that level, you see what you're on. I don't think it's as simple as we get better attackers or specialists in midfield and we see an improvement. I do, because obviously natural ability will show, but I haven't seen much from a tactical point of view. But I do agree, we need specialists. You know, you've got Partey, who's a box-to-box / ball-winning midfielder. You haven't got somebody like him as well. You know, I would have, El Nene's the closest thing. If we're harsh on El Nene, which we have no reason to, because he's been all right this season, what exactly is he? He's probably a box-to-box midfielder, but we don't specifically know. You know, and this is why I wanted to keep Torreira as well, or bring in someone of that mindset, because once Partey is injured or suspended or whatever, we're back to square one. But I fully agree with him. You know, we haven't potentially got that flying dynamic fullback. We haven't got, you know, a creative midfielder. We haven't got a couple of box-to-box midfielders. You know, we haven't got actual wingers that want to hug the touchline / come inside to devastate in effect like Mane. Like Mane can do being out wide, but he'll make that run every now and again. And he's quite narrow. He's in the half space. So I understand what he means by that. But to a degree, you know, he knew the role he was coming into. He knew the personnel we had available to him. If I look at it on the harshest thing, Arteta has had more of a sort of, not that I want to use Emre to beat him over the head with, but Emre was a head coach. You're a manager. You're getting more of a say now more than ever than any other manager post Wenger has had. So you knew your role. And I think, you know, I can't sit here and we can't sit here and I'm not saying to attack Arteta, but we can't praise him to high heavens, talk about cups, talk about this and that, and not hold him to somewhat accountable when the season's not going well. You know, you could have had a Guendouzi there, like Alex Ryan said. Obviously, you know what, Guendouzi's a funny one because I think he should have stayed. But, you know, if he, like you said, if Guendouzi burnt his bridge, I understand. Like, if it's purely, you know, you're acting up in training and the rest of it, I understand Guendouzi being rubbed out, because like you can see, imagine Guendouzi was still here doing the same old thing when we're in this form. If I'm Arteta, I've got 1,000 questions about my management, about if I'm good enough, about my players. I've still got a plan for 2 games this week. I don't want to have to deal with, is Guendouzi going to be a disruptive nuisance today? So it's probably gone, it's one of them ones there with Guendouzi. It's probably went beyond his ability. And he just said, you know, I can't trust you. You're a headache. I'd rather save myself the headache. But apparently, Mikel Arteta did an interview with, I don't know if it's an acronym or you're supposed to say it, so I'm just going to say DAZN Spain journalist Nacho Gonzalez, I think it is, but his Twitter handle is Nacho8. You know, so let's go through it. He was asked about Arsenal and which specific aspect influenced him the most to be a manager. He said, more than the culture is the knowledge of the club, the values we want to share, the history, where that has success come from, and the fall down afterwards. He was said, well, apologies, people. Yeah. And he says, then from there, try to get the project to what you believe in, what you feel or you think is going to have success. But that takes time. And, you know, that's why it's important that the players buy into Arteta and he buys into Arteta. He buys into what he's doing, obviously with being open to help and whatnot. And also why the board, because there's going to be tough times. Fans, you know, we are fickle. I'm not saying we don't have any Dan zone, apologies. I'm not saying we shouldn't have a say and whatnot, but if they genuinely believe in Arteta, if the boys believe in Arteta, they've got to see it through, because fans can turn. You've got to all collectively believe in a vision. To me, I can't see anything to believe in collectively. But if you lot are working on the training ground and you're not seeing the fruits of your labor, you need to keep going. Are we doing the best we can? Is everybody singing from the hymn sheet? I'm not too sure on that, people. I'm really not too sure. He said as well, for me, the most important when you are building a new project is that you need to have very clear what you want to do and the people around you have to know what you want to do, believe in that, and be willing to defend that for a sustainable and reasonable period of time. What does that tell you? That tells you, listen, hold me accountable as a manager. You know, there are some things I can do better. I will make mistakes, but if you truly believe in me and I'm showing you, you know, little building blocks. Like I said in my video yesterday, I'm not expecting to walk in. If Arsenal's a kitchen and Arteta's the new chef and we're, you know, we've got problems, I'm not expecting to walk in and see a five-course meal or see jerk chicken and rice. But what I'm expecting to see there now is, you know, I'm smelling things being seasoned. I'm seeing potatoes and carrots being peeled. I'm seeing people put ingredients into place. So I know that in a due time, we're going to have a decent meal. And that's what I want to see. And I think Arteta has shown bits of that. But I also think there is some concerning areas. And for me, it's about everybody singing from the same hymn sheet. You know, whether you agree with Arteta or not, we all can agree. Would you say if you was the owner of this club or people above him, you've necessarily backed the manager? You know, you haven't addressed all areas. And if you look at it, if I own a football club and my manager, for as great as you talk about him and Pep Guardiola's protege and all of this, he's a novice. This squad is not good enough and there's several problems. So at least I'm going to make sure we have a transfer market where you can't really have an excuse. Yeah, you got Partey and I'm not belittling the signing of Partey. But then, you know, you didn't bring in a creative man. We're now hearing talk of we needed a right centre half. You know, if we knew that was going to loan out someone like Saliba, who we're going to get onto, why did you not bring in another centre half? If we was looking at Saliba over the season and we've come to pre-season and we've come to this conclusion that, you know, he's not ready, why didn't we prepare for that? Do you get? So we're doing things, we're being very reactive, and then we're shocked as to why we're failing to sustain what we're doing in the league. How we play off how we move off the field is having direct consequences for how we're playing on it. You know, it's quite crazy. And like he said, everybody needs to back it. Everyone needs to believe in it because people will turn. Again, it's not the same. But you remember Pep Guardiola? You remember the legacy he left at Barcelona? Do you remember how it actually started? Do you know? It's quite famously put that, you know, Arteta would. I mean, what did Pep say in his documentary and his autobiography? He said I wasn't really believing in myself, and one of the most quietest players in Iniesta came in and said, "We believe in what you're doing." You know, again, it's before my time, but Sir Alex Ferguson, when he left that football club, what did it say when he started? You know, it could have went wrong. So everybody needs to believe. My thing is this: Arteta is inexperienced. He is going to make mistakes. So how do we make these? And he should be allowed that, like everybody. But how do we nip them in the buds real quickly? How do we, you know, masking with people that can help him? I don't feel the club have necessarily done that, because no disrespect to Edu, but you've got Edu who's finding his feet in this role as well. You know, would it have been worth going with a more experienced man and then an Arteta, and then maybe a year or whatever you bring in an Edu, or not making these changes so quickly? Because Edu has again, you know, I'm not involved in the club, but it just, like Edu, for me, it just comes across as, you know, he's taken no time to assert his dominance. You've seen him change the team and whatnot, get rid of people, obviously in line with Stan Kroenke and his henchmen in Tim Lewis, aimed at, you know, cost measured effectives. But for me, if there's going to be less people and you're meant to be more specialist, then there's more scrutiny. He's shown he can deliver it, but still, you know, for me, you look at our midfield, my guy, you know, Arteta was a midfielder. Arteta played two different, you know, roles in midfield. He played the more defensive mid holding. He was more expansive early on in his career. And I know there's a lack of personnel. I know there's been injuries. I know there's been COVID. I know there's been the whole Xhaka stuff. There's been a bag of nonsense that Arteta's had to deal with and not really been helped. But at the same time, do I see that 4-3-3 or any system as white and black as, okay, giving better players? No, because we're still struggling to create chances. You know, all of that sort of counter pressing, counter attacking seems to have left our game. Now, is it a phase because we're poor in play? I'm not too sure, but there's an imbalanced midfield. You know, one fullback goes forward, the other one doesn't, which leads to us being very left-hand centric and lopsided. There's a lot of problems, and obviously he can't fix it all. The players have to stand up to be counted, but ultimately it's who Arteta's going to be the man that has to answer for it. And like I said, I don't think he's been helped. He also went on to say, change to what we want has risks, and the way we want to play requires a lot of precision, a lot of game lecture. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. We have to be very clear why we are going And in this path, there's going to be times when the project is going to suffer. We're suffering now. And that's why I said in a video to come, and I have been saying, you know, before we talk about tactics, before we talk about ability, before we talk about playing for the manager of the clubs, players have to play for themselves, and it's all about the mentality. I'm not saying Arsenal are going to win the Premier League, but you should, every day, you should be going into training like, how do I move further and further towards cementing my own little legacy within football? And too many players don't play for the team like they're never going to get an opportunity again. When you see Leeds, you see Southampton, you see many teams this season, they're playing like they don't want no one to take this shirt off them. They don't ever want to stop being a professional footballer. And there's a lot of things that Arteta can take these players to the water, but he can't force them to drink. Ultimately, it's going to fall by him. And that's why I have more, if it came down to it, get rid of the players or Arteta, I'm standing with Arteta, because a couple of these players have been under numerous managers now, not done anything. Couple of times these players, you know, I've seen, like, it doesn't matter if it's more so last season, and those of you that were subscribed last season, you would see how many times did I say when Arteta was wrong, I held him accountable. But there was genuinely times you could see all week Arteta planned something, you know, can tell you he lectured these players, and then they've thrown it away. Like, Arteta can't account for last season, the one that sticks with me, and I always say it, the 2-1 defeat against Chelsea. We threw it away in 15 minutes, or even last season. Or even last season against Spurs, you know, again, Arteta may be on set pieces, but he's improved us on set pieces statistically. You look at the Spurs game, when did we throw that away with Toby Alderweireld scoring? And I could be wrong, but was that the game Kolasinac played an underhit pass to Luiz and it got intercepted or something happened? He can't really account for them. So this is why I'm looking at it. I do think he needs better players, you know. If he had better players, maybe he'd be more on the offensive, you know. He's of that, let's try and be rigid. I get that. But at the same time, attack is the best form of defense. Attack is a form of defending, holding on to the ball. And what you do with the ball is a way of playing as well. Because just by having a centre mid that will always find a Aubameyang if he is on the left flank and punch it in behind, their fullbacks are not, one of their fullbacks might not go forward now. That's a way of defending. And I understand it, but, you know, Arteta isn't faultless. I have more sympathy for him, you know. He seems to have got rid of the Xhaka project now. He understands that that's one that can't happen. I feel sorry for him because he has to utilize Xhaka for now. You don't know, there's a lot of injuries and things like that. And looking at the comments, you know, you lot have a lot to say. Let's see what you guys are saying before we carry on with this real quick. You know, big up yourself, John Wayne. As Daniel said, make sure you're hitting the like button. Alex is saying Bellerin is a big problem in my opinion, you know, and that's the thing with Bellerin. He's 25, we're still moving like he's 18. Like, for me, I like Bellerin. I don't think he's a bad player. Would I go for another right back? Yes. One thing I was prepared to give Bellerin is, you know, one season under Arteta, full season, show me something. You know, apparently we've had bids from Bayern Munich and Barcelona and PSG in the past. You know, you're looking at it, can you sell him? Because he hasn't kicked on. You know, Bellerin at one point looked like he was going to be 30. We're not talking about Bellerin. Bellerin's not a top 5 fullback, and this ain't me trying to hit him up with anything. This is the truth. He's not a top 5 fullback in the league. Is he even top 10? He's probably top 10 by default. But, you know, I think Lamperty's better than him, and he's been in here 2 secs. Trent Alexander-Arnold is clearly better than him. I reckon Maitland-Niles is better than him. I don't think much of Aurier, but I think potentially Aurier is neck and neck, really. Aurier is probably better going forward. You know, you've got Pereira, who's injured. I'd take James Justin, former Luton Leicester man. You know, Reece James, if I haven't said his name. You know, Bellerin just hasn't kicked on enough, man. And it's just more of the same. And for me with Bellerin, it's just to know that any winger that wants to continuously take their man on, it's going to be an issue. It's going to be an issue. So, yeah, moving on, he said as well, there we have to be stronger than ever, keep our idea and keep trying to bring the players we want, keep the players we have and evolve them. For me, that's the main secret. And that's facts. You know, what you want to see is, you know, development of players. That's one thing that hasn't happened at Arsenal. We're not developing players year in, year out. Make them play better. I'm not praising Sissoko, but like I was calling for with Emre and with Arteta, yes, he needs. Wan-Bissaka's better than Bellerin as well. Apologies. You lot threw me off. But like I was saying, that Emre weren't doing. You know, some of these. Don't get twisted. You know, you can't have too many squad players. But you see, the way Sissoko's playing for Spurs. Not that it's anything amazing, but Pochettino and to a degree Jose, they found a little role for him. That's what we've got to do with some of these players. You've got to find a little role. You could point to El Nene again, maybe shouldn't be starting and should just be in the squad and whatnot, nothing more than that. But you've got to find these little roles for players. So, and obviously the main players, the Sakas, the Aubameyangs, all of these sort of man there, you've got to evolve them, get them better, improve them year in, year out, and improve the system. I fully agree with what he's saying. And there's a lot of talk about has Arteta lost the dressing room and this and that. If results happen this way, then maybe. But I don't think the players would turn on him. Why would they? Obviously, you say, oh, Gaffer, why are you doing that? I'm not saying they're not asking questions and they're not left brainless. But, this man has come in, he's won them a cup. You don't forget that as a player. And you hear the way Tierney speaks about him, about how he's changed the way he's seeing football, the way Aubameyang talks about how the players are, how he's trusting the process, the way that less is made of how Ozil is being alienated out of the team. Like when the players talk of Ozil, it is we like him and whatnot, but they're never kind of drawing out their manager. They was under Emery, so there clearly is some belief and togetherness, and that's it. And I think where Arteta hasn't been helped, you all know, Deadwood hasn't been cleared off. We haven't brought players in. We've messed around. I would have liked him. When he came in. Early weeks in pre-season, the players we need to get in, get them in, give him the best time to just gel players in, because I don't think we've had enough time to coach, and that's where I hold him accountable, because is Arteta necessarily utilizing all the time he has available to him? He's spoken about 90 to 100 goals. He's previously said for the last 2 weeks he's working on attacking. I'm not seeing a lot of his blueprint, and he has been here 10 months. As much as I back him, and question him fairly, he's been here 10 months. We should see a bit more. So I still think the players should believe in him. Listen, if you don't believe in Arteta, I can't really say you shouldn't, because looking at it, there's nothing to believe collectively in the players and also Arteta right now because of what we're seeing. But I have faith that he can do a bit more. For me, all I want to see is a blueprint. All I want to see is what we're saying we're doing all week. We're doing it. Anything and a bit more togetherness and just having a bit more fight. Just looking a bit more like a football team, really, than anything else. Whether that's top four and the rest of it, it is what it is in that regards. Moving on, he also looked at the City bit. He said, at Man City in our first year, which was complicated, I saw the reaction of people around Pep, the people in the hierarchy. They didn't have doubt. They knew the path to follow. This year, something has happened, but we are going there, and the following years, it was different. And for me, is that what they're looking at? If they're looking at it as right now, this season is just short-term pain for long-term gain, I could understand it. I don't condone it necessarily, but I understand it. When you hear language of, we're going to move, we're well ahead of our planning for summer 2021. In January, we're looking for a creative man and a right-sided centre-half. We're looking at the fact of clearly we've got numerous deadwoods. All of these, and Arteta did inherit a mess. These are all things that we have to acknowledge, and for want of better phrases, excuses you have to give Arteta. Like I said, game plan, sometimes for me, he's been tactically outdone in terms of game management this season. Anytime he's come against a decent manager, and he seemed like he was on it in that regards. The overall DNA, I'm not really seeing a process. These are things you can hold to account with Arteta. But the rest, I don't agree. Like, Saliba don't get, but clearly the Ozil thing, the club it might be a sporting decision, but they're also holding him accountable when it's not at his doorstep. You want to see a bit more clarity from people above him. He also spoke about speaking in different languages to players. He spoke about the lack of attendance. And the most crucial thing for me is the point of including in this is, he said, when he was asked about the style of Arsenal, he said, for me, the way we occupy space and who is going to move in there is more important than the formation. And that's true. Formations differ and change. It's all about when the man in possession has the ball, what we do off it. Because what you do off the ball sets what the man in possession is going to do. If you make a run down the left wing, I now can play that pass. If you stay stationary and I look to my right and the wing is doing the same and there's a bunch of midfielders next to me, I can't do anything. Every pass that you give to someone should set them up for something. You should tell that every pass should tell your teammate what to do. I don't really see a lot of that. And that's also down to the coaching. But maybe Arteta's looked at it and said, you know what? I train with these people. these players are not levels. Like, I'm trying to do the creative thing. I'm trying to build out from the back, but we can't really do that. Beyond this counter-attacking thing, we can't really do much. So I'm going to work with what I work with. Now, I don't necessarily agree with that, people, but that's also something we have to consider. And that's true. You know, the formation should be fluid. We should be able to play a 3 at the back. We should be able to play a 4 at the back and play it well, you know, marry the defensive art. But when you've got that ball, try and hurt the opposition. When other teams play 3 or 5 people, we don't talk about it's a negative formation. It's because our intention isn't to go forward and win a game of football. You know what? I get why he wants to be defensive, but by that same logic, you know, you're just inviting teams to hit at you. We're not a team that's been promoted, or Sheffield United last year. No disrespect to them, in a sense of, we can't really shut games out 1-0. We ain't really had to fight like that. Most of these players have been in possession-based teams where, you know, it's been low blocks. They can't play low blocks. So how good can we get defensively with these level of defenders and players? You know, how good can your midfield is crucial to defending, as you lot know. How good can that midfield be with tactically naive players? You can do it in isolation. The numerous positive results we've had since Arteta's come in, you know, but consistently, is it going to be there? The front men, you know, are they consistently going to press? You know, Pepe had concerns defensively, for instance. Are we going to do that? The fullbacks, do you get it? The unit? We can't really get to that level really without that. And when you've got that and you're misfiring, it's a bad cocktail. And it can, you know, this is why teams pick us apart, because we're defeating ourselves. I appreciate you, Abu. Apologies. I really appreciate that, man. It's some big praise. I don't know how to react to that, man. It's amazing. So yeah, man. Moving on. That's what I want to hear, the style. And he also said, and from there, we have some very similar players that are not used to playing in those positions. So we have to keep changing the formation a little bit. Now, I don't necessarily, I understand. And I like the fact that Arteta likes to change his formation and do different things. But at the same time, too much chopping and changing can hurt the team, like seen with Emery. Prior to the Wolves game, I'm sure it said statistically Arteta's changed the squad 22 times. You know, that's, you know, you need to, people underestimate stability on the field and improving players. You know, you have your system, you know, you play a bit of consistency. Obviously, some games you can move Aubameyang wide, or, you know, you can, I'm not saying a manager has to play the same 11, but stability and improving that is something that's underrated. And at some level, while I have sympathy for everything he's saying about the lack of specialists, you know, he's mentioned lack of specialists. We know some of these players are poor technically and have bad habits. I have a lot of this, and I understand why he wants to be defensive and he's maybe not having his blueprint. But to some degree, you know, that's going to harm you in the Premier League, and it's going to harm you as a manager, because you're just going to sit back and be resigned to whatever the team's going to do. Like, it's not sustainable to go over 38 games and be reactive. Like, you look at the performances this season in the league across those 10 games. When have we really looked good? Cool, we'll say United were poor, but I don't want to discredit Arsenal in the same way when teams beat us like Villa or Wolves. I don't like to use the fact Arsenal were poor to get at them. We beat United, fair play. You know, you scored 5 against Fulham. We discount that. You've gone against Scott Parker and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, who at the time United had injuries and they were just moving mad. Fulham is a team you should expect to win. You know, you've gone against Bielsa. You've gone against who else? Bielsa, Nuno, and you've lost that game. You've lost the game tactically. You know, Rodgers as well. We've lost the game tactically. So while I have sympathy, there are some things he can account for, man. Moving forward, and like he said, it takes me back to the first thing he said, where he said we want to move to a 4-3-3, but for that we need a lot of speciality in every position. But now in 5 or 6 positions we don't have it. The aggressiveness, the effectiveness, the amount of steals we make in the opposition half, I think we have been very steady against some big clubs. And let's be honest, you know, fair play, there has been a bit more of that. We've improved a bit defensively. Set pieces we've improved, even though we're shaky by our own standards. I agree with a lot of that, but there's still a long way for Arteta to take the boys. And also a lot of that will be helped with other players. And he said, I think what we miss is in the opponent's area and the last part of the pitch. We have to find the key in attack. That last decision, that last pass, that last cross to create a goal situation, a goal, a shot, a corner. And that's for players to stand up to be counted, you know, because you see players hide. Very few players want to, you know, try that difficult pass. So when it doesn't work out, try it again, sort of thing. They don't want to do that. So we need brave players. But at the same time, Arteta, I like that you want to defend first and you defend, but we need freedom within a framework. The players do look rigid. They do look very structured. So when you've got players that are scared and lacking in that regards, and you've got a rigid final third system, it's poor. You need freedom. The players need to, provided they're good and they're consistent and they're doing what you need, they need freedom to move around, left winger pop up on the right, drop deep, because, and also settle on stability, because football's also about relationships. How many of you have played Sunday League? If you're a fullback like me, there might be a winger you've always played with, and sometimes to make a certain run because he's going to do a certain thing, or a midfielder, you need to allow these players to get that relationship with each other, that sort of sixth sense. You look at Son and Harry Kane, they've played together a hell of a long time. They know each other's game. Obviously, they're both good footballers as well. You need that. You look at Liverpool. Yeah, they've got great players, but it's about gelling together. So there's a lot for him to do as well. He did also speak about Bielsa and the system, and he said, and obviously, he spoke about Bielsa, he spoke about Leeds and the rest of it. And he said, when I arrived, we had to play Leeds United, managed by Bielsa. And obviously, I have followed Bielsa a lot, and I knew what he wanted to do and what he does. But then to experience that, the intensity he puts, his charisma, what he transmits from the bench, I don't know. He's special. And I was left surprised. I liked it a lot. It has a level of difficulty to find solutions, very complex, with a very well-marked style of play and unique. He was then asked about the short, medium, and long-term objectives of himself at Arsenal, to which he said, long-term, being able to compete for every important tournament we play in the Champions League consistently, mid-term to experience an improvement in the way we play, our style and DNA, and in the short term to keep competing like we have in every match and improve every phase of the game. That's the minimum we have to sustain now to aspire at the end of the season to be close to the other clubs. And that is true. I don't know if we've competed in every game. I don't think we competed against Leeds. I think we hung on and it looked good because of the red card. I don't think we competed against Aston Villa. Against Leicester. We were on the front foot, but we didn't compete when it went on the other hand. Leeds, especially when it became clear that it's not a certain game, we didn't do what we needed to do. Last week against Wolves, we didn't exactly compete. The only times we compete is when we are resigned to defeat or staring down the barrel of death being not getting 3 points. So I'm not too sure on that, but I agree with what he said. You need to sustain that. You need to fight. You need to get more points if you want to improve on 8th last year. In the medium term, of course, what he said, you want to experience we're still in the early days, but I want to see a bit of a building block. Like I said, we might not see the finished meal, but we need to be smelling the stuff cooking. We need to be seeing the herbs on the side of the kitchen. We need to see people peeling potatoes, and that's kind of what I wanted to see now. At the point now, I just wanted to see that you're actually going to the supermarket and actually getting what you need to get, and then taking it backyard to do what you need to do. And obviously, in the long term, we want to be back in the Champions League. We want to be like every team, you want to be competing for the major trophies. We're a long way from that, and I'd say there's many things wrong. I have more sympathy for Arteta than these players, and definitely those above him, but that doesn't mean he's without question, people. Let me see what you lot are saying. Please cut a moderator's pattern. There's certain, again, I know you don't mean any harm, people. Thank you for that. I'm not talking about that, but when I see things, there's certain comments you lot are acting like you lot pay me to answer questions. With all due respect, please don't bark at me. I'm not a dog. I'm here giving up my time. You lot are here giving up your time listening to football talk. So let's pattern up, please, and less of the talking like I owe you something and vice versa. Let me see what you lot has to say. You'd imagine if they want to clear out, it shouldn't matter if Arsenal want to clear out. The world can see the wickedest thing about Arsenal, not many of these players are actually bad footballers. They're just badly coached through previous managements. They just got bad habits, and they're just not of the level for what we aspire to do or what we need to do. Like many of these players, I think, are struggling at bottom half Premier League clubs, and that's even us now. We're full team, so our peers in that regards. Rashid King has said, "Are you from the Caribbean?" Well, my parents and my grandparents are from Jamaica and Barbados, if that answers your question. Lloyd Jerry is, big up yourself, Lloyd Jerry, on your lunch break. I think I will listen. Let's be careful on fast track. I just think he has a good chance of breaking into the first team if he keeps improving. Everything else will fall into place. So yeah, big up everybody. Come on, man. Let's get that to 100 likes. You lot are boying me. Come on, people. Come on. I think Aubameyang, that's a bit of, I mean, I think he trusts the process, but obviously when you're in bad form and everything's going wrong, to a degree, you see people's character, or he must just feel down, people, really and truly, I would like Xhaka to be binned for Dennis Zakaria. I don't think Zakaria is quite the guy to build play and stuff, but he's actually competent for what he can do. And that's a good way, they've given him, they've given him a faulty plane. I won't say burning because, let's be a bit more sensible, but they've not helped him. You've put him at the wheel of a Formula One car and you're not giving him the raid. You're not, they're not doing the Lewis Hamilton thing. They're not chatting to him in the headphones and that. So it's a bit mad. DJ Breeze TV said, DG, are you implying we go, you score 3, we'll score 4 mentality? No, I don't agree with that, because obviously, like one thing I don't want to see is, obviously, if we move from one thing that Arteta has in his Arsenal, or as an excuse, is that clearly if we play more expansive or we play a more expansive formation, there's going to be gaps on the transition. To be fair, you've seen gaps when we played a 3, gaps when we played a 2 in midfield, or 4 in defense, a 5 versus a 4. I wouldn't want that, because that's what Arsenal have had for how many years? When we actually had good attacking players, that was us. That was Liverpool when Klopp took over. But Klopp had to, marry different elements into the game and be a bit more smarter. So no, I don't want that. But I want to see a bit of that. I want to see you believe if a team against you can score, because I don't see a team that scores. And also, to give the example, it feels like Arsenal over 90 minutes were backed into a corner. And when you're backed into a corner and pushed with a stick, you have 2 options. You either keep dodging whoever's hitting you and, flexing in the corner and protecting yourself, which is also a form of defense. It's a bit cowardly, but it's also a form of defense. Or eventually you hit them, you push them, you meet them with some aggression, which is also a form of defense. So we need to marry it. And that's what I thought we was going to see building blocks towards this season, because I thought, you know what? And I still believe this with Arteta. Defensively, he knows certain man can't do this. He knows we need to improve. I'm seeing a bit more still and bite. We're attacking a bit better in the first phase of play with our goalie. Our first line of defense, which is Aubameyang or whoever's through the middle, is patterning that. The thought, let's get some players in, let's get some players out. Arteta has the luxury of a pre-season, or again, we know the pre-season was disrupted, but a pre-season of sorts. We'll see that. I thought creativity was a given based on the way Arteta spoke. That's actually probably the one thing I'm harshest on him. So, my guy, I'm not suggesting that, but I'm saying if we could turn the dial towards that, it'd be nice, because we can't be too defensive. We can't be too attacking. You've seen what we've done when we're too attacking. Since Emre's come in and previous management, we've all spoken about negative. So, yeah, man. And to be fair, against Leeds and Wolves, I would have went with a back 5. Again, everyone looks like a genius in hindsight. I'm not suggesting I know more than Arteta, but those of you that watched my preview, I said that. Now, it doesn't matter really against Leeds, because we got away with a point, whether I agree or not. But against Wolves, I would have said it would have helped, because you knew 1v1 what they were going to do. I didn't think Pedence would play in the 10, but you saw him actually build one of the goals and play very well. You saw Adama and Pedro Neto's probably the man of the match for me, from a Wolves perspective. Exactly. Roland, you will get your question. When I see your question, I'll get to it. This is what I'm talking about. Please do not speak like that. You do not need to spam. Calm down. Not too sure Arsenal will sign Messi, my guy, but why not? I think it's very remarkable. Forget Saka's ability, Forget it. Just the level of consistency and the temperament. I'm seeing young Bukayo Saka come off the bench against Leeds and already creating more and linking up with his man more. Fair enough, his last game against Wolves wasn't his best of games, but if you're real, Saka owed us a bad game. Not that I'm saying he's going to play bad, it's that he's 19. He's been mad consistent. He hasn't had a bad game I can't tell you when he had a bad game, other than that. He was due that. And when he should be, not that anyone should have a bad game, but it should be these young players. And when you've got Saka and Joe, and you're looking at man that are 32 and man that are bought for 70 million and people that have captained their country, you're probably a bit baffled as well. Like, it's a lot needs to improve. And for me, I'd feel ashamed. Every one of those players should be ashamed. And like I said in a previous stream, what is jarring about Arsenal is whether they play good or not, it's always, have you not noticed, it's always the 5 to 7 names max that we're praising. It's Tierney, Gabriel, Saka, Partey when fit. To be fair, El Nene's done all right this season. Aubameyang ain't scored no goals, but he's someone I'd throw into that. And then that's it. There's other players in the squad I like, but they're too hot. There's too much hot and cold man, and they've got to demand consistency of themselves. Lacazette has been consistently inconsistent since this man came to the team. His best season was Obviously, when he got Player of the Year, Pepe, I like him, but he's hot and cold. Willian is hot and cold. Bellerin is hot and cold. David Luiz hot and cold. He's been all right this season as well. Holding very hot and cold. Leno hot and cold / suspect at times for as good as a shot stopper he is. That they're already outnumbered. You can't have 5 to 6 men that start the game out of the 11 that are on this and the rest aren't. You can't have 7 players max out of a 25-man squad that are on this thing consistently. It doesn't make any sense, really and truly. He knows what it means. I only see a couple of men stand up to count, man. It makes sense. It's silly, man. I really like him, but he's a young man and he's just signed for the club, Yen. So let's just take it easy. And I don't think we should put any real pressure on him. You're right, Rosie, man. We used to have creativity in abundance, man. Rosicki bops the floor, wipes the floor with some man in this team. Big up all the members. Big up yourself, Nufan. Good afternoon, DG Nation. Good afternoon, right back at you, my dude. Big up George's opinion. I don't rate a majority of these players, so that's why I'm waiting it out. And the FA Cup lets me know he can do it with better quality players. I just want to see Arteta show me a bit more consistency. And I'm not saying he's a man without fault, but I agree, better play. This is it. Provided you show me little building blocks, as I keep mentioning, I'm with Arteta, really. If it comes to the point where we see, Arteta needs to move on, he's not the guy, it is what it is. That's why I say, you are allowed to say, I don't believe in Arteta right now because the team collectively isn't showing you stuff. In the same way, you're allowed to back him, provided you mention that, okay, he's in bad form, the team's playing bad, but he can prove me wrong. Or you can admit, if you back him, I do think the players, the board, all of these sort of things, but he's moving a bit booky. And I think that's the problem with fans in general, but Arsenal fans as well. We never like to consider all the variables. It's always one person's problem sort of thing. And that's the thing. We get elite managers coming to Arsenal is a myth. Why would you want to come to Arsenal with Josh Kroenke or Stan Kroenke? You're not going to be given the peas. Why would you want to come? You would listen to when Arsenal call you. It's Arsenal Football Club, Premier League, all of that sort of stuff. But when it gets down to the nuts and bolts, the squad, how can I improve this squad? You're not going to listen. You're not going to listen. And that's why I want it to work with Arteta, because I don't want to keep saying this stuff like this manager needs a time. He needs a new squad. These aren't his players, this and the same old things and the finance element. It's going to be crazy, man. It's going to be crazy. To be fair, that's Ashani. To be fair, I agree with you. How would they take that comment? It goes two ways for me. You take it depends. It weeds out the strong from the tough. Because some players have, Maitland-Niles, whatever you say about him, he was hung out to dry publicly. You saw a reaction. Hopefully, Pepe shows that when he gets back in the Premier League. It's all about judging the players. Some players, you get onto them in the public, how it's going to work out. And for me, he's been a bit, he hasn't said specifically, we can speculate midfield and the rest of it, but that would make me buck up my ideas. You have to buck up your ideas. Again, I don't know when he said it, but if the team's out of form, and I know the manager said 5 or 6 names, and I have any sort of inkling that he might be throwing me into that madness, that's going to make me fix up. But I agree, there's more to being a football manager than actually football. And some things Arteta says concerns me. Other things, when I hear how he's managed the young players and whatnot, gives me confidence. So it's a bit topsy-turvy. When do you think is the red line for Arteta in the near future? Well, for this run of games, I don't think there is a red line for Arsenal, because I don't think the ambition was really top 4 in hindsight. I've got a video to come out tonight about that. But again, if it becomes like Unai Emery, then his position becomes something you need to look at. Also, obviously, for obvious reasons, if we fail to get out this run of games, you look at it to the start of next year, it's gazy. And if this form continues, really, it doesn't matter what team we're playing. If it continues, ultimately it falls on the manager. And you've heard Arteta's comments. He arguably knows this. Big up Stylish, you large up all the DG Nation. Come on, man. Big up the members. Make sure you're hitting the like button, people. Make sure you're checking out the YouTube memberships. And also make sure you've hit the reminders and you've hit the like button on the streams to come later today at 2 p.m. And also tomorrow's watch along. That's it, man. Too many players. I big up my guy Y3 in the building, man. It means a lot to see you here, my guy. Big up everybody in the comments, man. You lot are very active. I'm seeing a lot of different opinions, and nobody's right, nobody's wrong. It's very interesting. That's the thing, South London, because last year I was seeing it, it looked like when he was making mistakes, he was seeing very quickly. This year, I'm not too sure, because at some point, is it a mistake or is it a stubbornness from the manager? But as I said, I'm more likely to Arteta show me more reason to align with him than the players. But I do think he can get more of a tune out of these players for sure. They should be playing a bit more. He's been here for 10 months, really. And that's what harms us. And that's why, again, you need to look at the man at the top and also the people just above Arteta in that. How can you react to situations? If you told you only got 10 mil, I know it's easier said than done, but can you go and find the centre half or whatever of a lower caliber? If you hear you got 40 mil or whatever, then you can adjust. And obviously, you could see how, I don't need to explain that further to you. I wouldn't mind Eriksen on loan. I wouldn't take him permanently, personally, And to be fair, I'm not saying you, but a lot of people crying about Ozil not being in the team, or Ozil, it's good to leave Ozil out of the team and whatnot. You're going to bring Eriksen in and say the same old thing, because they're literally the same player to a degree. You're right, Lucas. We don't play to their strengths, Aubameyang, I've said it in a previous vid released yesterday. I can't believe he scored the goals he has scored. We don't play to his strengths. We don't hit in behind. We don't hit it into the space. Nobody wants Arteta to get sacked. I mean, if you do, I can't say that. I can't take that away from you. But speaking for myself and some of the comments, I don't think anyone does. Not necessarily, but again, ultimately it's gonna fall on him. It's gonna fall on him. He spoke of Callum Chambers. Well, I was thinking in the cup, Callum Chambers is going to get a run out. I would have thought Callum Chambers, he played in the under-23s game. I would have thought he would have got a run out tomorrow. Nah, man. Giroud comes, we're going to be saying the same old nonsense, my guy. I can't even capture you. We're going to be saying the same old thing. To be fair, it might do, but last season we wasn't talking about his lack of experience, and we wasn't talking about the job is too big for him, because he showed people certain things. Obviously, this is the sword he's going to live or die by. And said people, big up Dermot, big up everybody in there. Not too sure. I would take him on loan. I would take Eriksen on loan permanently. I'm not really on it. We're going to get left with another player who right now we're seeing iffy performances, people. Moving away from Arteta, we've spent a long time on Arteta, 46 minutes on Arteta to be precise. That's, if you're wondering why I'm writing notes, that's so I can chop it up for the people that are obviously not here, people, and give them the little bite-sized thing. So that's it on Arteta. Let's move forward into other things, people. And for what it's worth, lastly on Arteta, Tierney said, honestly, the way he understands the game, the way he plays, he talks about the game, has made me see it in a different way, made me understand different aspects that I never understood before, different tactical points of view, a new way of playing, a new way of working. I'm loving every single minute of it. That's one thing I'd say. I feel like I'm learning about football more than I ever have. Now, maybe that's the truth, maybe that's PR, but again, only time will tell. And also, we notice it's not as simple as that. There's been injuries, but it is pretty telling that Pablo Mari and Cedric Suarez were both registered in the Premier League ahead of Mesut Ozil, and neither have played a single minute of Premier League football, people. Moving forward, then moving to that though, moving away from that, let's talk about Emi Buendia, Norwich's Emi Buendia. Hit the like button. What is you lot's opinions on Emi Buendia? Because what I see, I like. I don't think he's the finished article, but what I see, I like in the individual. I believe he's 24, 25. I can actually check that. I'm pretty sure I wrote that down. He's 24 on Christmas Day. So there's a lot of scope for development. There's a lot of scope in his play for development. And I think personally, it might not work out, but I think for 20 odd million, you can grab a man like that. Worst comes to worst, he could be good for the squad. You look at him last season, he hasn't, since he's come to Europe, it's been a bit mixed. Statistically, he didn't have you can't always look at stats, but they do have something. Statistically, shows me there's a lot of development, because you saw him play yesterday. I mean, you saw him play last season in the Norwich side that was kind of free flowing and whatnot. He can create. Stats don't do him justice, because he does like to take the game to the opposition and whatnot, and he is very good in that in that regards. There is a lot more development to be done, because again, I do think you can get more assists out of him, and I do think for the money, it's risk free. It don't work out, you've got a squad player, or you can make profit. and things like that. And there's a lot of development. He's 24 in Christmas, on Christmas Day. So there's a bit more. I know he can play as a creative mid, he can play as a wide playmaker. I think in time he can play a bit deeper. I'm not going to sit here and say, you know, I'm watching Buendia religiously, but from what I've seen, I think he's someone we need to go for. Like I said, there's a bit more definition to do it to get in his game, which obviously if we do that, we get a better player, and there's also resale value. And that's also one thing we don't do. We don't evidently improve players. We should be all over this. And you've also got to take a chance on some of these championship men, in my opinion. You know, look what Ollie Watkins has done for Villa right now. Do you get it, people? Again, Dele Alli, I know his name ain't really ringing bells, but Spurs got him from League One, and what did he do for them for a decent amount of time? You got to take a little risk on that. Okay, Ben Rama's not really making much noise at West Ham, but you've got to take a little risk on these players. There's been numerous players that man have taken from the Championship or whatever, and they've done quite well in that regards. We'll have to see. We'll literally have to see what happens. But like I said, he can create play. He wants to create chances. He wants to get onto the ball. He is a nuisance. This season, his stats are all right. You know, he's got 5 assists and 2 goals in 10 appearances. So he's had a hand in 7 in 10. Not many Arsenal players, if any, can say that, people. Like I said, you can't always look at stats, and he's a better player than stats given credit for. But when we consider that and look for areas to improve, of course, he can get more goals and assists. Now, when you play for a Norwich team that's fighting relegation and stuff, your statistics aren't going to be as good. Where if you're playing for a team that's going to be bigger or be on the front foot a bit more, you know, and dare I say it, not that it's evident, but slightly better attacking players, they're going to get better out of you or get the best out of you. So his stats can improve. But from his first season at Norwich, 36 Premier League appearances, 1 goal, 7 assists. Now, for me, if you're going to, the only reason I wouldn't go for Buendia is if I'm of the thinking, or if the club are of the thinking, okay, cool, if you've got 20 odd for him, you might as well just give the 20 odd for Szoboszlai. With all due respect to Buendia, I would like both. I think both would fit in, but I'll go for him. So is it a thing where we're saying, yo, Szoboszlai first choice, then we'll see what we can do, in which I get it. And I've also got to say, of course, I'm no transfer man and whatnot, but why is it that him and Max Aaron's never got a move? Did Norwich say, do you know what, out of the so-and-so players we have that are highly sought after, we're not letting Cantwell go, we're not letting Buendia go, we're not letting Max Aaron's go unless you want to pay top money, because we're trying to get back into the Premier League. And we've already let Jamal Lewis and Ben Godfrey, there might even be one more that I'm not mentioning. Did they say you can't go? If they did, then fair play. But is there a reason why, you know, he's staying there? Is there a reason nobody went for him? Is there a reason? I'm not too sure. I have to bring it to you. Apparently, for what it's worth, Chris Whitley, Arsenal writer, has said Emi Buendia is one of several players on the Gunners transfer shortlist, although Arsenal have made no formal approach for the Argentine, whose manager Mikel Arteta is an admirer of. We've got to take a chance. Even Madison, you know, Norwich bought him off. I'm sure Norwich bought him off Coventry, and he stayed. He went on loan. He stayed on loan, and then he went. You know, I would take Buendia. So we'll have to see. For what it's worth, though, again, it's not the transfer market, so it's early to say. It's too early. But Football London have reported that Arsenal have made no contact with Norwich over Buendia, and that his January exit is wholly dependent on the Championship club. So they will only sell if there's an offer they can't refuse, sort of thing. Apparently, for what it's worth as well, online reports have also said a source close to the player has refused to rule out a possible January move, saying that it depends on Norwich. Also, people to remember, the agency which represents Buendia has strong connections with Arsenal, having looked after Alexis Sanchez and Emi Martinez at the club in the past few years. So again, that's obviously a South American agency. So again, they might have assisted on deals for Alexis and helped bring Martinez to the team. I don't know the relationship, but these all point to reasons that for him to potentially look at. The man himself said, I always say that I want to play at the best level. I think the best league is the Premier League. I am one step back from the Premier League, so obviously I want to play there as soon as possible. And before I carry on, I also want to remember, like, he's not the finished article himself. That's why, you know, if we've got a manager who's improved Sane and Sterling and stuff, I'm not saying these lot are levels or whatever, but can we get man that we can take to the next level? Like I said, we can't really go toe to toe with these experience for these top dollar man. So can we get him and improve him? And Teza said a great point. That's what I was getting at. Would Norwich give up any of these players, especially mid-season in the Championship? Why, you know, you wouldn't, because if you want to get out of the league, and in fact, you could say to them, yo, listen, you know, I'm not being funny, but Do you want to join Arsenal right now? It's looking a bit iffy. You keep playing now, you will have Arsenal and the bigger boys that are in the Champions League up for you, lad, or will be back in the Championship sort of thing. Or let's deal with it at the end of the season. Or say, are you really going to be the first choice target? Look, they're linked with Szoboszlai and that. So I agree wholeheartedly with you. You know, they're not going to leave in the well, I mean, in January, like you said, unless there's big boy money put on paper. Karen agreed. You know, too much people look at name brand. I was screaming Robertson. Go and check my early videos. I was saying you can grab a Robertson. You know, these sort of man. Look at them now. You've got to take chances. Obviously, Southampton weren't fighting relegation, but people used to turn up their nose to Sadio Mane. Now look, you've got to take a chance on a couple players. If it don't work out, it is what it is. Look at Jota. Everybody knew Jota was a good player, but everybody, and definitely myself included, you know, you can wax lyrical about Jota now. And that's because, you know, Liverpool knew what they were buying and knew how they were going to utilize him and how it fit in their system. But we weren't screaming he was a baller like this. We knew he was a great footballer. You know, I even had a Wolves fan doing this live stream for that. He said he was a baller, but, you know, he's shocked the amount of goals he's scoring. You got to take a chance on certain men, you know. Sometimes you've just got to take a chance. Provided you've done your homework, it is what it is. And we seem to freestyle. And I think we've got to do some of this. And, you know, Tez, got a lot of time for your comments. You know, you know me, I was crying for Ben Godfrey. That's a signing. I think he's going to be an England international. Probably he's got a lot to learn. He's very raw from what I saw at Norwich. But like he said, you know, Everton got a young English player there. He's going to be a banker. Max Aarons, I think, is a bit hyped. I think he's a great player. I think he's going to be a good player. But I think people overdo it with him. That's me personally. I'm not saying you. I'm not saying not to sign him. But I think people make out that it's Dani Alves. He's not exactly that. I think Lamperty's better than him. I think James Justin's right now are better than him. Obviously, my opinion is not gospel. Things can change. So, yeah. So it appears that, I mean, I think the player would be open to move to Arsenal or any team in the Premier League that will show him interest. Apparently, Leeds United were onto him, but they've left him for whatever reason. We'll have to see in January. He's also said, but it doesn't matter if January is an option or next summer. I want to be really focused with my team. And also, there's a lot of development because he's only recently come to Europe. You know, he was at Getafe and that for a couple of seasons, or if that. You know, he joined Norwich. I saw he joined Norwich a year or two ago. He was there very quick, so he's still quite young. So there is a lot of development. And he also said, like I said, but it doesn't matter if January is the option or next summer. I want to be really focused with my team. I have a big chance to get back with the team he gave me a lot of things in the last 3 years. It would be really good for me to get Norwich back to the Premier League. So yeah, he's been in Europe for a couple of years still. This club deserves to be there again because they are doing things in the right way. Now, if Buendia gets an offer, he won't refuse. He'll do it. But this tells me there's a degree of gratitude. You know, he feels that he at least owes Norwich the full season, as Tez was saying. You know, full season. I give you my all. We try and get promoted, and we deal with whatever needs to happen, sort of thing. So we'll have to see. So I think he's open, but again, it's going to rely on three things. It's going to rely on, are you going to offer? Are you going to offer him, or is there another option you're going for? Are you going to put the money on the table, maybe even a bit more? Because as you lot know, in January, everybody's negotiating from a position of strength. When you want a player, everybody that can sell a player, everybody that wants to buy one, you know, you're in a position of weakness because you're pressed for time. You're gonna have to overpay. There's mid-season things going on. Also, depending on not that this necessarily applies to Buendia, but 9 times out of 10, if you're Aouar or even a Szoboszlai, sometimes it might not be smart to leave mid-season. It could affect the good season you're having. And like you said, Shamar, it's fully on them. He ain't gonna force a move. Again, things can happen and offers can get put, but it isn't gonna happen. He wants to leave through the front door, sort of thing. He also said, I don't try to think about the future or other teams people always say about rumors or links. No, I try to be focused each week to play games and do my best for the team, for my teammates, the coaching staff, the team, and the fans, for everyone. We'll see what happens in the future, but I tend to live in the present. So again, he's not ruling anything out. He's not saying for definite. What I get from that is, you know, if an offer, I'm not going to count my chickens until an offer is put on the table. Then I'll consider it. You know, I owe Norwich. So right now I'm just focusing on my season, getting Norwich back into the Premier League. Also, if I just focus on my season week in, week out, I'm going to play better. I'm going to have a good season, and there could be more admirers. So we'll see. T29 said, do you think we are aggressive enough? I think initially we were looking like we were on that under Arteta, but I don't think we are aggressive enough. We weren't aggressive against Leeds. We weren't aggressive against Leicester. We weren't aggressive against Villa, and we sure as hell weren't against Wolves. And to be fair, I think Arteta's done all he can because the players were replicating that game in, game out once a period of time. The problem with our players, they think they can just turn it on whenever you want. You need to be doing this every week to that. It's we shouldn't be praising, not saying you are, but we shouldn't be praising aggression, being solid defensively, fighting for your team. These are bare minimums for any team that wants to have a decent season. In fact, I'd say it's bare minimum for every team in the Premier League, because every team not showing fight right now is having a disastrous season. You can go through the league, by their own standards. Sheffield United aren't showing the same fight they had. That's why they're rock bottom. Arsenal aren't showing the same fight. That's why we're 14th. City aren't showing the same level of fights. That's why they're not top of the league. It's facts, really and truly. So we'll have to see what happens in that regards. Away from that, though, another man we've been linked with in January, Szoboszlai, apparently the same writer, Chris Whitley, is saying Arsenal are assessing whether to sign Dominic Szoboszlai in January, with a more experienced option being considered as Mikel Arteta looks to fill the creativity void with a proven Premier League pedigree player. A move for Inter's Christian Eriksen is also being weighed up, again consistent with rumours we've heard for the last few weeks. Keeping up with Szoboszlai, and Fabrizio Romano said, I'm sure Szoboszlai is moving clubs in January. In around 2 weeks, we'll know where he is going. Arsenal and AC Milan are looking at his situation, but there are other clubs. Keep an eye on Arsenal because they need exactly this kind of player. I'm not going to lie. I do think we do have a chance of getting him, but I do think he's going to Leipzig. I think his dad, his agent, and everyone connected with Szoboszlai are using Arsenal, AC Milan, and the rest of it to pit interest and drum up interest so that they can command more finances or sell on fees or whatever. I do think all these clubs are interested, but I already think a decision has been made over this man's future, and they're just using it to drive up interest and whatnot. He also said, like I say, keep an eye on Arsenal because they exactly need this kind of player. I don't know if this will be Szoboszlai. It could be another one like Eriksen, and obviously the situation of Aura with Lyon. Other reports online said Szoboszlai already has offers from Arsenal, Milan, and other European clubs. His agent, Matthias Estazi, appears in Hungarian media almost every day, together with his father, Zlot. He holds a diamond in his hands and keeps grinding it. So he knows Szoboszlai is a sought-after jewel, and they'll keep using that. According to other reports, though, especially coming out of Germany and actually Bayern Munich-based, the Twitter account CF Bayern said, Milan and other clubs are now too late in the race to sign Szoboszlai. According to our information, the player will go to Red Bull Leipzig, perhaps during the winter transfer market, in which we all expect. So we'll have to see what happens in that regards, people. Szoboszlai, let me see what you lot are saying. Who would you lot rather, Szoboszlai or Buendia? Who are you lot going for in January? Szoboszlai or Buendia? Perfect. Personally, I'm going with Szoboszlai. I think it's a good fit for him to go to Leipzig, stay there for a couple of years, and you do what you need to do. These Madrids and these other teams that are linked with you can do what you want to do. Everybody hit the like button. It doesn't cost a thing. Please make sure you check out the pinned message information on my next live stream, which will be at 2 p.m. today. We'll be previewing Arsenal's Europa League game to come. And obviously Thursday, 7 p.m. will be the start of my live watch along. Antonio said Todd Cantwell. I wouldn't mind him, but I'd be more on Buendia. I'd be more on Buendia, really. Like Cantwell, I'd take him. I think he could develop. I'd like him in our squad, but I'm more likely to keep trying negotiating for Buendia. If they say something I don't like in relation to Cantwell, I probably will leave it. I'm not too sure, Jamie, who the specific names would be. But I'd assume he wants, he definitely wants a creative midfielder or two. I definitely think he wants another box-to-box man. I think there's a need for a mid sort of age range centre half. I do think right back is an area of concern as well. And maybe even a striker, because Lacazette isn't favoured really and truly. Eddie Nketiah used in the squad but isn't favoured. There's been some handbrake for Arteta to utilize Aubameyang through the middle, and this you could also almost say him going through the middle now is an act of desperation, both to get his star man in form again, and both of a manager who's probably having to try things he doesn't want to try. So I'd say maybe a striker. I have to say right back because there's 3 man there. Nobody's no one's really nailed down right back. So right back, centre mid. I mean centre mid times 2, let's say. Centre half, I believe. Full back, right sided, and maybe a striker would be what I believe, my guy. Personally, big up everybody commenting. It means a lot, people. It means a lot. What else have you lot got to say? I wouldn't mind the Konku. Saw the angle Emre was coming with when we're linked with him. Really developing at Leipzig. Not too sure how much he would cost. Arteta out. Listen, anyone can call for the manager to go. Me personally, I'm not at that bridge yet. So it is what it is. When we knock, it's a different knock. Mad thing, innit? Big up AM as well, man. Big up all the members. I really like how you lot are always on the live streams and whatnot. Yeah, Aaron's is very suspect defensively. He gets caught flat-footed from set pieces a lot of times and he doesn't follow runners. I've done a video on Canute. Right back, ain't he a centre-half? Again, I hope we're talking about the same centre-half that plays for the same team as Upamecano. Decent centre-half. I would like Danny Almo for those that mentioned it, but I don't think that one's there. I do think fans have short memories. I personally feel it's a case of lacking balance. I feel fans, especially when I don't actually agree with this, but when people say, you know, accept Arsenal for what they are, they're not the Arsenal of old. I can accept that. But I want to see building blocks to move to that sort of thing. But at the same time, I do think people need to realize what this team is for what it is. That being said, just by admitting this team is poor doesn't mean you have to accept nonsense. I don't think Klopp and Arsenal situations, while you can use it, my guy, are comparable. And it will take a few years. But I do think fans lack balance. I do think some have short-term memories. You know, if you're losing balance and you think Arteta isn't the guy, you think he's the man, then it is what it is. It'll cost a pretty penny. You just moved there, really. What else you lot saying? The Spliz, yo, DG, what's good? Before the start of the season, we needed 2 centre mids minimum. Only bringing in Partey was a disgrace. We're using the same man that finished 8th last season and expecting them to do better. Firmly that. You know, expecting new tricks from the same old duds. It's a madness. What else you lot saying? Big up everyone. Please make sure you're hitting the like buttons. What else are you saying? That's it, man. Fullbacks essential, man. Fullbacks essential. Fullbacks arguably are more important than wingers nowadays in football. Look at the sheer assist the Liverpool man we're bringing. You know, our fullbacks. You know, you've got Tierney. I don't think Tierney's as effective this season going forward as he's been in previous years. But he's still an asset there. Saka, you see what he brings. Maitland-Niles, for all his critics, you know, you see what he can do. Fullbacks are crucial, and I think right back is an area for me. I think striker's one Arteta's looking at as well. Like, I think if he could find a striker with the hold-up play and get away with Aubameyang on the left, I think he will do that. I like Mikel Antonio, and he would give us something different that we're lacking, but I'd probably pass personally. But big up Mikel Antonio. You know, I've got a signed shirt in my wardrobe. Met him. He's a very cool brother. Very cool guy, man. Footballers get, you know, this rap of being just, you know how people say footballers are, but he's not that. Big up yourself, man. Big up yourself. You know, Shane, I'm tired. We're all tired. I'm tired. Favorites to win Europa League and Champions League. Champions League is, you know, someone's always the favorite until a madness happens. You know, Barca and Juventus aren't looking as good as they have in previous years. But I won't say favorites, but I always consider the teams with the top 2 best ever players, you know, Ronaldo and Messi. You can't, for me, I can't, if I had to bet money, I can't look past Bayern Munich for obvious reasons. Pardon me. No, they didn't have the best results yesterday, but yeah. Europa League, hope to God it's Arsenal. The form Spurs is in, you know, you have to consider them. Madrid have dropped in. I don't think they're the Madrid of all, but they look like they're flirting with dropping into the Europa League, so there's them. But it will probably change, man. I need to see who drops into the group, well, into the Champions League, better yet. I don't like him on the wing either, but it is what it is, man. I think there's way more problems than them two, if I'm pretty honest. I think there's question marks over Lacazette's form historically at this club, and definitely Aubameyang's of late. But I definitely feel, you know, you could get away with both of them in the squad if everything else was fixed up. I'm not saying anything is anything else to write home about. You know, and there's that as well. You know, you don't we. I don't want to play Villarreal the way they're playing. To be fair with you, you know, I really don't. And I agree with you, man. If we can get him, it is a no-brainer. It is a no-brainer. It really is a no-brainer. Let's move on and talk about our one, man, because I'm sure you all have seen. In fact, before our one, let's talk about Saliba, because we've done bare chattings and not spoken on William Saliba. Now, he played very well for me, and I'm sure you all saw it on Rams TV. Arsenal's under 23s defeated Derby's 3-1, and Saliba played. Now, clearly, we're just playing him there to keep ticking over. I don't want to speak about why he doesn't play in the Europa League, why he can't play when some of these players are making worse mistakes than him. We know it. Either way, something's changed. Just sort out the problem now. You've robbed him of 6 months or so of football now. Go and make sure from January at least until May or whatever, he gets some football under his belt. Go and put him somewhere. And I think he's deserved the right to, apparently he wants to go back to St. Etienne. That's his first choice. Go and get that done. Go back to St. Etienne for a second time on loan. Play whatever football there is to play. Get your confidence, improve, or whatever question marks Arteta's got in his head. Do your best to kind of shut them up. Come back next season more confident and more, you know, hungry to get a place at Arsenal, really. But I think first and foremost, he needs to go to St. Etienne. I would actually like him to go to the Premier League, but I think, you know, when you just messed around a man's season like this and all the stuff we've been hearing, I think he deserves the right to just send him St. Etienne, where they know the man, they know things, you know, his familiar surroundings, couple of his teammates, you know, he's comfortable where he can just focus on football. Obviously, he needs to earn his right into the team and all of that stuff. But if he goes to somewhere like Nice, I don't think Nice is the best environment for him. You know, in a football sense, it is, you know. Vieira's men aren't doing right. They lost to, was it Dijon, who are bottom of the French table? I could be wrong, but they lost. You heard the way, you know, the way Vieira talks in the press conference. He's had enough. On one hand, it might not be the best of environments for our guy to slip in. But on the other hand, he'd be learning from Patrick Vieira. I don't like to be this learning off other guys' stuff guy on YouTube, because I do think it's valid, but you've got to learn for yourself. You know, we were saying this stuff under check, but he played under Vieira, knows what it means to be an invincible, can sympathize with him, because people forget Vieira was a relatively young man when he joined Arsenal. Obviously, there weren't the same amount of expectations, or a lot that I was old enough to comprehend, but, you know, well, I was watching Vieira, but you get what I'm saying. So yeah, there's that. Obviously, first and foremost, there's football to be played. Obviously, they're in a poor bit of form, so it shows your character. Stand up to be counted. You're going into an environment where everybody's playing for their futures, where everybody's playing poor. Like, if we look at the top of the league, if we just look at the Ligue 1 table right now, quickly, people, and see what it says. Why is it not scrolling out? You've got Nice, who are 11th. So yeah, people, they've been a bit shaky, but he'll go into that environment where everybody's fighting, you know, and in a healthy way. They're not going to care that he's William Saliba, ain't played a lot of football, this, that, and the other. He's going to have to take someone's shirt. And obviously they've lost Mangla Sarr, so there might be football there for him to be played. But I think the first choice is to go to St. Etienne. I wouldn't have minded him going to Germany. Personally, I would have liked him to stay at Arsenal, or, you know, go somewhere in the Prem. But I'm also conscious of the language barrier and all of these sort of things. Apparently, he's making advancements to learning English at a good rate. So, yeah, man, for what it's worth, apparently, you know, according to reports, Nice have inquired about loaning Saliba in January, but the player's preference is to return to St. Etienne. And I would like him to go to St. Etienne because, you know, we couldn't agree a fee or whatever for him to go back. We couldn't agree with whatever we needed to agree with them for him to play in a cup final. So relationships are quite stretched. So what happens when they get the next Saliba, or the next midfielder, or the next winger that we want to get? They're going to play hardball. So if we can kind of use Saliba to get games and also kind of mend some relations, then why not, people? Why not, in my opinion? Apparently Arsenal are set to move for Ibrahim Kanouté. The North London club will make an opening offer in the coming weeks, with Mikel Arteta keen on adding the Frenchman to his ailing defence. You'd imagine he's going to cost 40 up. So have we suddenly got 40 million to spend, having bought Saliba and Gabriel, which are touching in total Saliba's fee, what is 20 odd? Gabriel's is the same or so. So you've spent almost 40 or maybe 40 and whatnot on two centre-halves already. And in true Arsenal fashion, we're continuously linked with such. So we're going to have to see in that regards, people. We really do. I wouldn't mind Ibrahima Konute to come to the club. I would like Saliba to stay, but you know, if he has to go out on loan, Saint Etienne would be my first choice purely because that's where he wants to go allegedly. So yeah, moving forward, and you know, Hossam Awad, you know, he's quashed talk of leaving Lyon in January as we all expected. He hasn't had the best of starts to the season, and for what it's worth, I know there's been a lot made of his refusal to warm down in a game against Angers, and people have been a bit angry about that and whatnot. And we're using it as a reason to why he could potentially move to Arsenal sooner rather than later. You know, he's come out and basically said, I'm here until the summer at least. I'm staying at the summer. I'm happy at Lyon. As we already know, you stay there, you play well, you have more chance of going to the World Cup. Moving in a World Cup year or a Euros year, apologies, what it actually is, can be very risky. I don't think I'm going to read all of this out to you lot, people, but he said, I do not usually speak during these sorts of situations. I preferred not to react during the match because it was very important in the match for the podium and we won, which is good. Honestly, there is nothing serious. It was a bit overdone. What you need to know is that against Angers, I did not come on as a substitute owing to the quality of the pitch, which is what the coach told me. And I refused to participate in the warm down for the same reason, the quality of the pitch. The following day, although there was a day off for the team, I came to training to do a session with the coach and fitness coach on a pitch more appropriate for my adductors because it is an injury that I've been dealing with for a month and a half. So again, there's different ways of looking at that. That could be a man that, for me, the first way I would be looking at is, okay, boom, you're saying I can't come on the pitch, so why am I warming up on it? Why am I going to definitely warm down? You've risked me warming up on it. You said I can't come on this field, so you want me to warm down? No, I'm trying to look after myself. Or it could have just been him being difficult. It could have been legitimate concern. It could have been him being difficult. It's one of the two, in my opinion. And to be fair, you can't really get him. He still came in on his day off and did a training session. And this could be just one of, you know, when it becomes the beginning of the end, and it's just little bickerings between a club and a player, and it just seems to happen. He then spoke about the respect. I respect the decision made by my sporting director, Juninho, who's a truly great player, or he was. I know what he has done. There's no real story to this. Honestly, I experienced the situation well because there's nothing to it. Again, and apparently there's talk of as he was sanctioned and not been allowed in the game, in the squad for the next game. He was asked obviously as well, basically in relation to his future. He said, I do not see how I could be unhappy in my city, in my club. That is something I do not understand. I'm very happy to be here. I took the decision to stay with the club that formed me. I savor every day I have here. Everything that I want is to put this club back in its rightful place with my teammates. I'm very happy to be here. We have enormous amount of ambitions for this season. He was asked on the interest from clubs like Arsenal. He said, that is part of a footballer's life. I am very well surrounded. The club and the coach have spoken with me a lot. It was a normal period. I dealt with it well. And as I said, I'm happy I stayed. Also, in other news as well, if you don't know, people, apparently Gabriel Martinelli is targeting being involved in an under-23s game of some sort at the end of December. By the end of December, Zach Swanson, who has been at MVV Mashit, I cannot pronounce them. He has had his loan spell cut short. He's only made 3 appearances. He's had injuries. There's been rumors of homesickness. It hasn't worked out for the 20-year-old. There's also talk of apparently him signing a new deal. Apologies, people. There's talk of Arsenal about to hand the 20-year-old a new deal, to which I don't understand. But, you know, he's been a consistent performer at youth level for us. So why not? Hopefully he gets a new loan in January to a club closer to home, to a club that's actually going to play him, because it'd be a shame if he stopped playing under 23s football from January to the end of the season. You're not going to advance at all. So yeah, that's that in regards to that, people. Let me take a couple questions before I get out of here. Let me scroll all the way up. Big up everybody. Please make sure you're at the next live stream, which is in just over half an hour. 2 p.m. we'll be previewing obviously Arsenal versus Rapid Vienna. So yeah, if you could go back, would you take Mourinho or Arteta? I'd still have stayed with Arteta, really and truly. Take nothing away from Jose Mourinho. Hindsight's a wonderful thing. I like him, but he's not my cup of tea. That man is a baller. I do think Kieran Tierney is playing his way into becoming a captain long term. I think it's unfair to suggest Aubameyang isn't a captain because he's led by example. I've seen him getting angry. Obviously, not every captain has to slap the chest and whatnot, but I definitely don't think that's fair on him. He might not be what you attribute to captain material, and I agree with that. But yeah, come on, people, you lot doing me dirty. Over 300 people inside and not even 200 likes. You lot are not doing what you can to get this seen by more people. You lot hate the guy. It's very upsetting. Come on, man, hit the like button. It doesn't cost a thing. Is he actually injured? Is he injured, or is this Jose Mourinho playing coy? We'll see. We'll talk about the North London derby towards the end of the week. I'll probably do a live stream on Friday. In fact, I'm going to be doing a live stream on my channel with Curtis Shaw of Curtis Shaw TV. Make sure you're there, man. Big up, Wayne. Make sure you're there for the 2 p.m. live stream, my guy, because you've probably missed this. And that's the thing, man. That's the thing. Leicester have a plan for Donny. Leicester have a plan for Saliba. We don't. No, I would say no. You can't. Spurs can still present issues. You know, they've still got Bale, fit or informal or not. They've still got Son. You know, they've still got a lot of problems. And that's what I don't understand, doing the mad videos and all of those sort of things, and not at least giving the fans, like, just tell us, you know, right now we think he's a good player, but having looked at him, he's not at the level right now. You know, next season we're going to look at him again. Simple as. Come on, hit the like button. Is he getting rid of all of Emre's players? Because right now he's rubbing out Xhaka. He clearly messes with Xhaka. To be fair, you know, Saka is technically an Emre player. He gave him his debut. I agree with it, but, you know, I do think he's siding with some that are still there. To be fair, Callum Chambers has been injured, and last season when Chambers did have minimal opportunities, he did all right. I'm not saying he's anything to write home about. Both have a lot to improve before they get a chance like that, in my humble opinion. My dude, Sports Genius, has said, would you take Lozano? Yes, I would. What else is there? I like him. My minimal expectations for Mikel Arteta is I want to see your DNA. I want to see what you're about as a manager. I want to see your blueprint of the team, first and foremost. Secondly, you know, an improvement. You know, an improvement. We're actually going into teams playing all right. There's a bit of consistency. That's the minimum. That's all I wanted to see this year. Top 4, all of that's a bonus. You know, that's why I don't necessarily think he should get sacked if he doesn't get top 4. It's all about the blueprint and what the team's looking like, sort of thing. You know, to be fair, I'm not defending Xhaka because I agree with that. But in the name of seeking balance, there's been times Xhaka's looked calm in the system. I don't think he's the man for us because he's not dynamic enough. But yeah, man. Permanent. Just rewatched most of your old fan vids on AFTV. Man, say the comment section under yours the most positive. I mean, praise all the positives, man. I do get a lot of negatives, but big up to everyone that likes the guy, man. I look mad young. Ask your girl and your mum, you know what the thing is. But 25, my guy, 25. I mean, you know, I don't play that way, so don't, you know, not on them thing there, but it is what it is. You know, to be fair, I agree. For me, Gabriel, Saliba are the only ones I'm rocking with. I'd say Miri as well. Not to say that I'm defending him, but I haven't seen what you're about. I don't mind Holding, but squad player at best. You know, David Luiz the same, very hot and cold. You know, realistically, you know, 1-1, you said it. You said it really and truly. I also agree with that. That's it. That's what I want to see. I just want to see the blueprint, because it doesn't matter where you are in the Prem. There's numerous teams that are all trying to achieve different things. You know what they want to do. You know the blueprint. I just want to see a blueprint. Do I have sympathy for him? Of course, with the squad and all of these things. But, you know, you can't not, you know, attribute any of the blame. As I said to him, people. Kolasinac has had corona. He seems to be over it now and he's back. You know, you see in his Instagram post. So he's not my cup of tea. He's someone that needs to be moved on. But, you know, that doesn't mean I don't want a man to be in good health and good spirits and able to carry out his day job. I fully agree. We need more dynamic and athletic players, without a doubt. Midfield specifically. We need braver players as well, man. I fully agree. CR7 has said, who would you prefer? Deluded in Jan, Aura only, or Szoboszlai and Canute with the money? I'm not sure what you mean by with the money. I think they'd all cost peas, but Aura is my guy. But just off the basis of 2 players, I wouldn't mind Szoboszlai and Canute in January. And then, you know, trying to move players out, trying to deal with whatever finances we have in the summer, dealing with it. Well, to be fair, he's playing all right. I wouldn't say I'd take him, but, you know, if we ever signed him, which won't happen, I won't cry. I think Fred's done a lot. I think Fred was one of those players, very quick for man to call him rubbish and and all of these sort of things. But yeah, Mr. Adlib has said, what areas did you address first in your first FM save? Centre half situation. I sold David Luiz and Mustafi. I looked to move players on. Yeah, that was it. Moving players on first and foremost. I then, you know, got to do some transfers. I mean, some training stuff. Made sure defensively we were spot on. You know, made sure Saliba got some personal training, and I worked with my coaching staff for that. And then, yeah, we did what we could, man. Bought Buendia as well. So yeah, I wouldn't mind him. But if I'm Alaba, having won everything at Bayern Munich, being linked with Juventus, Barcelona, Real Madrid, I'd want to go to them. Obviously, we hear he's an Arsenal fan, and maybe having won everything, you know, the chance to play for your boyhood club, the chance to also the London factor, maybe a good, well, you'd have to give him good finances, could attract him, but I don't think he'd ever join Arsenal. If you mean, do you mean loan to bring people in or out? In, I've already mentioned I wouldn't mind Eriksen on loan. I wouldn't be against it. Out, Saliba potentially, Joe Willock potentially, but again, our squad is a bit crazy. Shabozla, I mean, Awa personally. That's it, my guy. You know, when your centre half in David Luiz is taking the most risk, you know you've got an issue, man. What else you lot got to say? I like him, but I don't think he's our cup of tea. He's a bit more box to box. I would like him in our squad. He'd be a bit more dynamic than current options, South London. So yeah, I would take him. I would take him. Maybe, you know, in hindsight, maybe. But what would have happened if Zaha signed for us and he stunk up the joint? I'm not too sure. From my heart, Marcus, when speaking with my heart, I would bring back Jack Wilshere. We do lack a lot of creativity as well, but logically speaking, I don't think it's a thing. That's it, man. That's it. They just have, for me, you just have to be on the thing, you know, because a lot of people say our players are small and whatnot. Look at David Silva or previously at City, and look at Bernardo, for example. They're on this. The form he's playing in, you know, by default, if we need squad options, I guess Arteta would sanction it, but no. You know, I think the penny needs to drop for Ceballos, and I don't think it's dropped for him. Maybe it will happen here, maybe it will be somewhere else, you know. You've got one guy just spinning and spinning and spinning. You've got one extremely immobile midfielder. It's painful to watch. DG going to be big, maybe, man. I hope so. I hope so. You don't even like the vid, so how could I? I hope he does come back, but he's contracted until 2022. You know, you can't imagine. We'd need to start. We'd need to start the transfer, the contract talk. Apologies. I think that one's done. He's personally putting himself in the shop window, being at Hertha. And that is true, but at the same time, that's a cop out. You know, we can't always use that. So yeah, man, is what it is in that regards. But anyways, people, I'm going to be back at 2 p.m. You know, we've got the Arsenal versus Rapid Vienna preview. We got to knock that one out. But for now, we've been here for an hour and a half. I'm going to keep it moving. Please hit the like button. I do appreciate everything as well. So yeah, people, man, I'm out of here, man. I'm out of here. You sponsor people. All right, last question. Why do you like youth sports so much? Youth football so much? Just do, man. I just do. Is what it is. You lot will be calling for me to get out of this club, mate. You lot will be calling for me to get out of this club. He talks too fast. We don't get his tactics and all of this stuff. But like M said, hit the like button on the way out. Please make sure you're aware of the next live stream. Information is in the pinned message. We go again at 2 p.m. Head over there now. Open up another tab. Hit the like button. We go again. You know, for those of you that are at work and whatnot, I hope I've given you a decent hour and a half, man. Big up yourself. You know, this is what I love to hear, man. See you at 2. I'll see you all at 2. I'm out.